In a small, bustling American town, there was a bakery owned by a man named Mr. Gable. He was a master of his craft, yet his heart was as hard as a day-old loaf. Mr. Gable was a stingy man, never offering an extra crumb or a warm smile to his customers. Despite his cold demeanor, his skill was undeniable. His bread was the lightest, softest creation imaginable, and his cakes were the stuff of legends. People from every corner of the town were drawn to his shop. The irresistible aroma of freshly baked bread and sweet pastries would drift down the street, a siren call to anyone who passed by. They would follow the scent right to his door and step inside to buy his wonderful creations. However, not everyone who was captivated by the smell could afford to be a customer. Many of the town's poorer residents would simply stand outside the bakery window, closing their eyes and inhaling the delightful scents. They found a small moment of joy in just smelling the deliciousness within. This infuriated the baker. "Their stomachs are filled by the smell of my bread, yet my pockets remain empty," he would grumble to himself. "They're getting a free lunch, and I get nothing for my hard work. Perhaps I should find a way to bottle these wonderful smells. Then I could sell them, just as I sell my cakes." One freezing winter morning, long before the sun had risen, Mr. Gable was in his kitchen kneading dough. He wasn't humming a cheerful tune as he worked. Instead, he was muttering complaints about the early hour, the bitter cold, and every other minor annoyance that crossed his mind. In the midst of his grumbling, he glanced up and saw a figure standing outside his window. It was a young man named Leo, dressed in a worn-out coat that offered a little protection from the cold. Leo was gazing at the rows of warm bread, a look of deep hunger on his face. He closed his eyes, a faint smile appearing as he breathed in the comforting aroma. The sight filled Mr. Gable with rage. "That thief," he thought. "His stomach is full of the smell of my bread. He's enjoying a free breakfast at my expense, while I get nothing from my labor." Leo remained motionless, lost in the simple pleasure of the smell. This only made the baker angrier. He stormed across the shop, flung open the door, and yelled at the young man, "Pay me!" Startled, Leo looked at him in utter confusion. "Pay you for what?" he asked. "For the smells that you've stolen," the baker retorted. "But I've stolen nothing," Leo said, his voice trembling slightly. "I am only smelling the air. The air is free for everyone." "Not when it's filled with the aromas from my shop, it isn't," the baker snarled. "Pay me right now, or I will call the police." When Leo could not produce any money, the furious baker grabbed him by the collar of his old coat and dragged him through the snow-covered streets to the home of the town's judge. He banged on the door relentlessly. After a long moment, the door creaked open to reveal Judge Thompson, dressed in his night clothes. It was only 6 in the morning. "What could possibly be so important at this hour?" the judge asked, his voice heavy with sleep. "This man is a thief," Mr. Gable declared, pointing an accusatory finger at Leo. The judge looked surprised by the strange accusation, but simply said, "Come inside and tell me your story. But first, allow me a moment to get dressed." A few minutes later, the judge returned and led them into his study, where they all sat around a large wooden table. "All right," he said calmly, "tell me everything. Mr. Gable, you may begin." The judge listened patiently as the baker recounted his tale of the hungry young man who had feasted on his smells without paying. Then it was Leo's turn. He explained that the air was free and that any person had the right to breathe it in as much as they wanted. When both had finished their stories, the judge sat in thoughtful silence for several minutes. The baker, growing impatient, started to repeat his complaints. "He took all my smells without paying a single cent." "Be quiet," the judge said, his voice firm. "I have reached a verdict. Young man," he said, turning to Leo, "do you have any money at all?" Leo reached into his pocket and pulled out a few small coins. He showed them to the judge. "Sir, this is all the money I have in the world." "Give those coins to me," the judge instructed. Leo placed the coins into the judge's outstretched hand. The judge then addressed them both. "I have listened carefully to both sides. It is true that the delightful smells were coming from the baker's shop, and therefore these smells belong to the baker. It is also true that this young man enjoyed those smells without paying for them. Therefore, it is my judgment that Leo must pay Mr. Gable for the smells he took." A greedy smile spread across the baker's face for the first time in his life. He eagerly held out his hand to receive the payment. But the judge did not give him the coins. Instead, he shook his closed hand and the coins clinked together, making a soft metallic sound. "Listen, Mr. Gable," the judge said, shaking the coins again. "Listen carefully." The baker listened to the sound of the money. "That," the judge declared, "is the payment for the smell. I have decided that the sound of money is fair payment for the smell of bread." The baker's smile vanished. "Give me my coins, sir," he demanded. "No," said the judge, and with that he returned the coins to the poor young man and told him he was free to go home.